Is cryptocurrency legal in China?
No.
It was outlawed 2 months ago.
Wait, I thought mining was.
Mining's still alive and well. They have no problem using Chinese servers to mine it and then sell it to the United States. But there is no cryptocurrency allowed inside China until China creates their own state
CBDC.
controlled, right?
That's amazing.
So basically, if you want, let me put on my tin hat now. You basically have a Chinese firm, knowing that they can mess with the market and have zero impact on their own people, make a large reinvestment of currency into the market. What happens when you flood a market with currency? You decrease the value of that currency. So they cause a flood, they decrease the value, and then they make 2 public announcements that basically bring into question FTX, their only competitor and the second largest crypto company out there. Yeah. Were they looking to crash it? Probably not. They were probably just looking to cause pain the same week as a midterm, on the verge of whether or not we were going to be going into a recession. They're probably just looking to cause pain at all. But this was in excess of the pain they were looking to create. And now what we essentially have is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world is controlled by the Chinese, which is the only country in the world that doesn't use crypto.
What's your average age of the crypto investor? What generation is that?
That's
your generation?
21 maybe?
Right?
All right,
so
20s, I guess.
So
20s.
who are the folks that control these midterms? What voter? What group? 20 to 29s?
Well, these midterms we saw.
Nice job, Chinese.
Yeah, I see what
you're saying.
It's a big economic war. Do I see every ghost as the Chinese? No, I don't see every ghost as the Chinese. But when it comes to economics,
I think we should look at it though.
When it comes to economics,
if they're the folks.
Yeah, when it comes to economics,
oh man,
they're savvy. They're super savvy. And it's really interesting that they're so savvy because in their system, economics works completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have 1 out of every 3 lawyers studying U.S. law going back to China, they've all got gainful employment when they get there.
How effective is China's intelligence apparatus? I mean, I assume it's very effective, but like relative to the CIA, relative to the FSB, Mossad, like how do you view what China's capable of and how they go about doing the job?
Cutthroat. That's the difference. What we do is really good. What they do is cutthroat. They have no problem. They have war casualties.
They're assassins.
War casualties is not an issue.
It's a different MO.
Yeah,
it's a different modus operandi. Yeah, like we're trying to be clandestine.
Yes.
We try to get in, get out. Nobody knows that we're there.
Yep, it's important.
The Chinese are bulls in a china shop. They want to come in, break everything, and leave a calling card. Because then guess what? Then we talk about it. Right? They left a calling card when they hacked into the Office of Personnel Management System with the DoD. They stole like 60% of the records in OPM.
By the way, my ex is trying to get a settlement. I mean, I'm like, whatever.
And then they told the whole. And then they told the whole world. And then they told the whole world we did it, right? And then the whole world was like, "Oh shit! The Chinese can hack into the American military personnel system." That's how they do it. It's the exact opposite of what Russia does. It's a totally different MO. They don't need to be clandestine because they basically have a culture where every Chinese person who affiliates with the mainland in any way, no matter where they are in the world, aligns as a mainlander first, right? They're a Chinese something, Chinese American, Chinese French, Chinese whatever, but they're Chinese first.
What is their ultimate goal?
Economic superiority.
I think just
it's like 19 to 12 right now. So you think by 2032,
it's not me. That's economics.
They've passed that.
Yeah,
GDP. I'm talking.
Yeah, if you just look at the numbers that are out there posted by Harvard Business Review, by Brookings Institute, they're predicted to be the economic superpower by 2032.
Well, Apple's trying to take their slave trade out of China and put it in Vietnam now. They're trying. Are more companies going to do that? Because obviously that's the one thing about COVID I don't understand, because they've basically with China, I'm talking about going so hard on COVID, they shocked the system and forced multinationals around the world, not just in the US, to have to evaluate their supply chains within China and adjust to other places, which is literally the opposite of what China should want. No?
China knows that they're always going to have. We're calculating time like Americans. Americans look at time as like 2 years is a long time.
No, you're right.
Right? And even in our government, the longest approved budget is 5 years.
That's right.
Is that right? Is there a longer
That's
budget than
exactly
that?
right. And then you have the contingency, the holdover that goes on for maybe 6 months before it's renewed.
In
Think
China,
about that.
like one man can basically write a line item that lasts 35 years.
That's probably what happened.
Isn't that a big problem that presidents only last 4 years here?
Technically, presidents only last 2 years here because then they spend 2 years
right, exactly,
running for re-election.
Either running or in second term, lame duck.
Yeah,
you know,
they're not paying attention.
No, they have nothing. Yeah, not paying attention.
How much power do you think the president has these days?
I think the president, in large part, has mixed power. Right? There's the executive order power, because what's happened for like 20 years is Congress has been letting the president make whatever decisions they want to make. We saw Obama create the most executive orders in history until Trump came around, until Biden came around. Like we are now to a place where we are basically policying through executive orders because, you know, nobody else, unless you own the Senate and the House, it's impossible to get anything through. Right. So the president has been getting a lot of power, but their power has always lied with the Congress. It's just when Congress outsources their power to the executive branch, then they get to claim that it's not their fault when they run for re-election, which they have to do every 2 years.
So what is this story? This is the kid who drowned, right? What exactly did he say?
Nikolai Mushegian.
Balancer Labs.
Okay, has drowned in Puerto Rico, local media say. He's the developer of MakerDAO. So yeah, go to his tweet. There's his tweet. Yep. CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. They are going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death.
I mean, I think this is pretty tied up nice in a little bow. Jim, there's no way to question this. Well, except it happened on Twitter. He's probably verified.
He was not verified.
No, this was before. He drowned before, unfortunately.
Before he could get Twitter blue. Elon hadn't released it yet.
I just don't see how that could possibly happen, you know, without him actually doing it.
Yeah. But drowning's a hell of a way to go.
You know what the Bahamas is, right?
What, the Bahama Triangle?
It's a series of islands. What do you think the most common way of dying in the Bahamas probably is? It's not going to be like getting shot by a gang member.
Do you think a guy who's inventing... Do you think the guy who's inventing crypto on the computer every day is out there going for a fucking swim?
No, this guy's not going in the water.
Come on.
I'm thinking a guy who's inventing crypto every day probably got drunk one day, got caught in a riptide, and didn't have what it took to swim back to shore.
How perfectly but
2 weeks after he posted this tweet?
2 days.
2 days?
I think 2 weeks. You guys.
2 days.
So you guys have said 2 weeks and 2 days.
No, October 28th is the tweet. He was dead by Halloween.
You sure he wasn't dressed as somebody else? It's Halloween.
Or did he just? Or was it like a? Was he trying to get attention to commit suicide or something? And just trying.
I mean, you're the same, Andy. You're the same guy who said. This is back in the day. You're the same guy who said on a Reddit feed when you were doing an AMA. One of the questions was, "What does the CIA and they may have said and other intelligence organizations do that crosses the line of morals? Like, are they into whether it be like sex trafficking or having to do things that are totally insane to be able to get intelligence?" And you answered it very, very honestly, incredibly honestly. You said something to the effect of, there are things that make me lose sleep at night that we do that I'd rather not talk about in a Reddit forum here, which is not no.
Right, it's not no. If you look at this has so many red flags in it that make me just...
It does, you're right.
So we've got to take that for what it is. Like, did the guy die 2 days later? Yes. Yeah. Is that correlation or is that causation? We don't really know. Right. You tell me that a potentially unfit guy drowns in the Bahamas. Okay, that's unfortunate. And then you show me a tweet that says CIA and Mossad and pedo elite.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Some kind of sex trafficking.
But then it gets even better. It's a blackmail entrapment ring out of Puerto Rico.
So unpredicated.
And oh, by the way, I will be framed by my ex-girlfriend using my laptop because she's a spy.
Okay, but
you know how many perfect things have to line up for this to be true? Where's the laptop? Has anybody interviewed the girlfriend?
Well, scroll down.
Asked that question.
Scroll down.
It's actually with Hunter.
Where's
with
the
Hunter
laptop?
Biden's exactly.
Scroll down.
So yeah, this has got me not suspicious.
Yeah, but
of
how
CIA,
do you?
But this has got was the dude knocked off by some organized criminal for some other reason? Who knows?
This one here.
Okay.
No, this is just dark theme.
All right.
They will torture me to death.
Yep.
What day was this? The same
That was
day?
the 28th. Yeah.
The 28th.
It's the same tweet.
That was the same
So
tweet. I missed the torture me to death.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, when I hear the words like CIA,
what's this
Mossad,
say?
and pedo
Sunday
elite,
night.
it seems like a lot to me.
3 possible futures for me. 1, suicided by the CIA. 2, CIA brain damaged slave asset. 3, worst nightmare of people who fucked with me up until now. I am sure these are
That's
the only
it.
options.
I mean, that's a tough 3.
You guys, I could see you
tough
guys
3.
taking a trip down memory
Yeah.
lane reading
Yeah.
this one. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Suicided by CIA. That's 1. I don't like that. CIA brain damage, slave asset. Okay, so I really don't know what happened.
I mean, a brain damaged slave asset's super useful.
It's really good.
But have we done all right in
Could be-
a,
I
in
don't
a
wanna
serious
say.
manner? And I don't like see my issue with people online who complain about everything just to do it, like the Twitterati.
I can tell you exactly why CIA wouldn't kill this guy.
Not
Because
even,
of
no.
this conversation. That
Not-
is exactly why they wouldn't touch this guy.
And then this reverse psychology person would say, and that's exactly why they would.
Yeah, and
'Cause
the
then
reverse
they're talking about
psychology-
it and no one believes
Yeah.
it.
And the reverse psychology person would never have actual insight into what happens at CIA because they specialize in reverse psychology.
But the people who are online who just complain about the CIA all day and say like defund the CIA, defund the FBI and shit, like I think that's insane because you have to have this stuff. You're a powerful country. People out there want this country dead, right? Like there's enemies in the world, whether you like it or not, that's what it is. But it doesn't mean that like a guy like me who knows that also wouldn't know or not know, also wouldn't be able to speculate that perhaps things in this realm happen. And by the way, if given the context, not that I would ever deserve it because I'm some private guy in a fucking armchair, but if given the context, I'd say, wow, that really sucks, but I get it.
Life without CIA or FBI is like life without food and water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would assign CIA is going without CIA is like going without food.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to last a while. It's just not going to be pretty. Going without FBI, that's
good
like
luck.
going without water. You know what this country would turn into in about 3 days without the Federal Bureau of Investigation doing what it does? I mean,
Well,
you correct me if I'm wrong, man.
I
but
think you're absolutely right. My issue is just the leadership at the top at this point. I think needs to be. We don't have the meticulous. Well, let me not say that. That's not true. We have a good portion of the Bureau who is meticulous about their investigations. We have a good portion of the agency who is meticulous about their asset collection and how they utilize that information and report it. I think the biggest problem that I see is those folks that are leading the charge that have become politicized, especially in my organization, have become politicized to getting the huge headline. Looking at these elections and what the Bureau has done and basically saying just why not just realize American votes are not for the person who's running against the red. It's because they just hate the person who is going to run for the red. That's what it comes down to. So how do we not meticulously go through this and figure out where it's coming from? We know where it's coming from. It's out there. It's coming from China, period. That's where it's coming from. It's where it's been coming from since 2013. That's what it is. And I don't understand. All these other things are based on the fact that this is someone who was brilliant in certain ways with regards to what he did on the crypto side, but really has no understanding of how things work, even on a basic level.
Yeah, he only saw 3 futures, and these were his
That's
3
it.
futures.
And he said, I am sure these are the only options.
Yeah.
I am sure of it. Okay. There's plenty of other options. Like, shit, you should have swam before you went and not had 15 drinks and 2 blows of Coke. And nothing, maybe this would not have happened. But I get it. I get it. But I think that's kind of where we're at. I totally agree. Without us, it's impossible to move forward. But we need to do a much better job at what we're doing.
It's funny because you landed on something that's a distinct difference between the 2 agencies. FBI wants to get into the headlines. They want to show their impact. They want to show their victories. They want to be able to secure future funding. CIA wants to stay out of headlines.
Absolutely.
We actually have a quote-unquote Washington Post test. Like that is something that every manager in CIA is familiar with.
A Washington Post test?
When you propose an operation or when you propose 5 operations to solve a problem, the first sniff test that we all have after we lay the 5 options on the table, and they're like, okay, guys, Washington Post test. Which of these 5 options is going to land on the front page of the Washington Post if we fuck this up?
I love that.
And then if there's 2 or 3 of them, boom, they're gone.
And you have the editor right there assessing.
And we most likely have the exact opposite test. How do we get this in the Washington Post? Seriously. Oh, nope, that's not going to do it. Oh, that is. There it is.
There it is.
Let's go raid the house when we can just use a forthwith subpoena. Let's go raid the house with boats and choppers and everything else.
Public deterrent, private deterrent.
Yeah.
That's really...
Yeah, I mean, it's two different worlds, right? Yes. The American people want to see the FBI doing their job. They want to see the FBI raiding a house with like jackets and helicopters and big guns. What they don't want to see is the way that China gets a North Korean general to give us the placements on a missile. They don't want to see the bill for how much booze we send him. They don't want to know that we sent the guy on a paid vacation to Thailand to sex tourism himself. Silly. Like they don't want to see that.
I thought he was going somewhere.
How'd you like to have that job?
A lot of grenades out there, if you know what I mean.
Playing volleyball in a minefield, bro.
Yeah, something like that.
So fresh, so